Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power is officially over. Season 1's done. We're here talking about the season finale, and as we speak, they are currently filming even the next season. And hi, my name is Zach. I've enjoyed this show overall, and I know a lot of you guys are probably already commenting. Some of you hate this show, some of you love it, some of you like it, and some of you are kind of just like, whatever about it. And that's totally fine, because this is a safe place to talk about the show, so no matter how you're feeling about it, make sure to leave your thoughts down below, hit that like and subscribe button, and just to kind of get this out of the way, I like to say this in every review because I know some people don't watch every review and some people are new. I'm not a huge Tolkien expert, so I don't know everything when it comes down to the lore and mythology of Lord of the Rings, so if there's something in this show that is betraying the books, please let me know down below so I can read it and kind of get used to that. But without that further ado and getting all those out of the way, I thought this finale was good. Wasn't great, wasn't stunning. There's a lot of revelations that come about. We get a little bit more of a feel of who the stranger is. At first we thought it was Sauron, and then it wasn't, and then he's a wizard, which we'll talk about. And then I kind of said, okay, there's only one other person that could be Sauron. And if they don't show it in this episode, I'll be kind of shocked. And sure enough, they do, and it is Halbrand, which, again, we are going to talk about. A lot of you guys had that theories, thoughts for the last couple of weeks. Specifically, a lot of my coworkers had that thought. I thought it was a little bit too obvious, so I was trying to go a little bit different. Maybe it wasn't the stranger, maybe it wasn't this, but yeah, we know who Sauron is now. And one of my biggest things with this season, and after the season had ended, because right at the ending, you see the rings being formed, you see what the rings look like, but this show, and maybe you've never seen this show or even heard about it, but the comic book Preacher got a TV show adaptation a couple years back. And the first season for me was good. I didn't love it, but it was good. And as someone who really enjoyed the comic books, what I really appreciate about that first season was it was a prequel to the comics as well as a prequel to the story. And in a way, I guess you can kind of say a prologue to everything. And then seasons 2, 3, and on were really able to further out, develop, and kind of you already had a gist for the characters, the world, and what was going on. Rings of Power kind of just did that for this first season. Like, looking back, this first season was a prologue for us as fans, for people coming back to Middle-earth, to kind of go into this world and in a way be reintroduced to Middle-earth itself, the Lord of the Rings franchise, and everything of that nature. And that was interesting. It was an interesting way to put that forward. Do I think that was the best aspect you could have done for this show? No. I think the show could have definitely moved a little bit faster. I think that this season was a little bit too slow at times, because I actually just got done rewatching the rest of the season, and I'll be doing an episode ranking tomorrow or Saturday, so do look forward to that. But going back and rewatching it, while I still thoroughly enjoyed the show, there were certain episodes where the pacing halted a lot. And there's a lot of world building in here. So I guess to kind of just get into some of the thoughts of this episode, Númenor continues to be like one of the most least interesting places that this show goes to. And I honestly, if you told me that before the show had come out, I probably wouldn't even agreed with you. But it is true. Like, all the characters there, I really do not care about. I like the queen, and I like the captain of, like, this entire army. His name is Elendil. I like them. I think they're a good dynamic. And when they do return to Númenor, there is a lot of aspects there that kind of leave open. And the way that this episode works was it plays off in giving us the questions and answers that we definitely needed to have answered throughout Rings of Power. But continuing from there, it also kind of just, hey, this is what's going to be going on in season 2, and hopefully we definitely don't have to wait that long. Like, it better not be like 4 or 5 years. That'll be stupid. At least a year and a half. Like, at least a year and a half. Come on now. But Númenor, again, continues to be one of the weaker aspects. The other interesting aspect about this show is that we really didn't get to see every character in here. And I say that because one of the big things in here was we didn't get to see any of Bronn, we didn't get to see any of Theo, we didn't get to see any of, I think his name is Arondir, and we didn't get to see any of Durin and his entire thing, like his wife. And that was an interesting thing to touch on, that we didn't get to see a single look at them. Now, their stories maybe didn't per se go to this episode, and there was a lot to already detail in this episode, but it was kind of interesting to see that, to say the least. But with this, the episode does open with the stranger being kind of taken back by these entities, these wizards of some sorts, and I was quite interested with them, and they're like, all hail Sauron. I'm like, oh, here we go, this is who it is. Little bit on the nose. Don't love that. I was hoping it would be something else and more of a surprise, but okay, that's the route we're gonna go. And that entire build-up and everything was seen like Poppy Proudfellow and Eleanor Brandyfoot, and even just in general Sadek Burrows and the rest of the Harfoots. I really liked how they were able to kind of intersect them, and I liked how they were able to save the stranger, and I like how the stranger in the end of the day was not Sauron. I liked that because when he got that staff and just dusted those people to death, I loved that. I thought that was a great scene. The CGI was a little bit iffy on that. It seems like they kind of started running out of some of the budget, but the visual effects for the most part were pretty cool in there and did kind of take me back to some of the earlier Lord of the Rings stuff, which I really did appreciate. And even with that said, like seeing the Harfoots and seeing everything of that nature was quite impressive. And again, Eleanor Brandyfoot did a really good job in here, and I like where her journey is now going, saying goodbye to the rest of the Brandyfoots and going forward with the stranger, who seems to be a wizard. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, well, is he Saruman? Is he Gandalf? Is he another wizard? I'm going to go with the guess that he's actually just going to end up being another wizard. And I say that because from my understanding and reading in the lore, because I try to do this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Tolkien fans, Gandalf and Saruman do not show up to the third age, and right now we are in the second age. So unless they're changing stuff, which apparently they have already done, that is something to keep in mind that with that whole entire endeavor. So I'm really happy to see kind of how they put a nice niche in there, and I was a little bit sad to see that Sadek died. I liked Sadek as a character, but for next season, I hope that they don't just focus on both, like the stranger and the Harfoot, and also the rest of the entire group, because I personally do not care. Like, I think their storyline is kind of done for now, and I think you can kind of put it on the back burner. Now, if they do come in and they provide a great story, awesome, but it just seems like they're going off in their own direction. The stranger and Eleanor are going off in this direction, so that is something to keep in mind. Really like that entire dynamic. Thought that was cool. The other big element of this was everything back with the elves. You have Galadriel, you have Elrond, you have Gil-galad, and you, of course, you even have Celebrimbor. I can never pronounce his name correctly, but... And they're, of course, discussing, and this is where the big reveal comes, you know. There's a lot of mumbo-jumbo in here and lore stuff that I'm not even going to try and pretend that I know every single element of, but it was all interesting dialogue for the most part, and again, it does end with them forging the rings, and a lot of that was because of Halbrand's advice to the smithing and everything of that nature, and then, of course, he reveals himself to Galadriel because he wanted her to be her queen, which... There was a lot of cool dream sequences in there, and one of my favorite ones was when they're on the boat again and you look down into the reflection and you see Sauron and Galadriel. I thought that was really brilliant, and of course we know where Galadriel does go, so we knew this was not going to play off of, oh, she's going to join him. We knew that wasn't going to happen, but it was still interesting to say the least, and again, I like the reveal. I think it works, specifically even the last shot of him and what he is looking out off into the distance. And I think, again, the way that the season ends feels like a good ending for a season. This overall feels like a prologue for the rest of the season. And now that everything's layered out, the fact that we know all these characters now for the most part, we can now head forward, straight forward, and I think Season 2 is going to be able to build off that and provide a better dynamic and actually provide story context than more of just building. Now, I don't agree that that was the perfect route to go. While I still think that at least 4 episodes of this show was absolutely incredible and some of my favorite stuff that I've watched this year, it's honestly fair to say that a lot of this show was a little bit too slow. Some of the pacing was heavily off, and I think that's just something to be honest about. And I understand Tolkien fans have been very disappointed with certain things in this, and some have absolutely loved it. I'm, again, someone who's not versed totally in Tolkien, and I like this show a lot. I thought it was quite enjoyable, and I really liked the first season, and I can't wait to see the Season 2. I hope Season 2 is even better. Also disappointed we didn't get to see any more of the Balrog. I thought that was disappointing. But other than that, guys, that is Season 1 of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Episode 8. This is the Season 1 finale review. Thank you so much again for watching this. I had a blast talking with you guys about the show week to week. We still have 2 more episodes of House of the Dragon, so make sure to stay tuned for that. If you're a Walking Dead fan, I'm also covering Walking Dead every single week, and Andor as well, the new Star Wars series, which just had one of the best episodes of anything Star Wars in so long. So thank you so much again for watching this. Tons of content coming up, and of course, until next time, stay classy.